Don't do this. You'll be lost forever.
I should have been lost 100 years ago. This isn't my time or my world. I can save my world. I can save this one.
Welcome to Avatar Nation, a podcast all about the Netflix live adaptation of Avatar, The Last Airbender. Whether you're a longtime fan, like us, or you're new to the Avatarverse, join us as we dive into each episode and analyze the retelling of TV's greatest adventure. Welcome to the finale episode. I'm your host, Pauline.
And I'm Wes. And it is hot in this room.
It is.
Let's be honest with it.
Well, because we're stubborn. We don't want to turn on the AC just yet. Because it's Missouri, it's the Midwest. You never know what you're going to get.
We get 90 today.
We can get all 4 seasons in one day, so we didn't want to turn on the AC, but yeah, it's warm in this room.
The window's open, so if you hear some alarms or
background noise, sirens, people, we apologize. Can you believe that we are finally at the finale?
It's been a long road.
Longer than probably most watchers. For those who haven't listened to some of our early episodes, Wes and I have been watching this just one episode a week, so that way we can really take everything in and do a podcast episode before moving on to the next. But we are finally here. Slow and steady wins the race.
It's been a roller coaster ride.
Even though we said this is the finale episode, it is not a finale for us. We do have several more episodes planned for discussing this season. We're going to do a season 1 wrap-up. I think we're going to do an episode comparing the live action to the series. And then I even want to maybe do one about the movie. So we shall see. We'll see where this journey takes us.
Are you talking about the movie that shall not be named?
The movie that doesn't exist in Ba Sing Se, ladies and gentlemen. We may go there. We may need to drink something while we watch it.
That'll be fun.
If you guys don't want to miss out on any of those fun episodes that we have coming up, don't forget to follow and subscribe to us so that you don't miss out.
Well, are you ready to get into the final episode?
Yeah, let's do it. We're here, we're ready, and we have a lot of thoughts. Okay, so let's begin by talking about the episode T, just like how we begin talking about every episode, the nitty-gritty details. So the finale is titled Legends, and it is directed by Jet Wilkinson, who directed the previous episode, and it's written by Albert Kim. And just as a reminder, Albert Kim is the showrunner, and he's not going to be the showrunner for the following seasons.
Yep, moving on to Percy Jackson, right?
Yeah, but he's still going to be part of Avatar. I think he's just going to be, I shouldn't just say just because it's still a big deal. He's going to remain as one of the executive producers, according to different articles that I've read. Let's go ahead and have you read our episode recap, so then that way you can remind all of us what happened in this episode, because it was a lot.
Let's do it. In the Season 1 finale, the Fire Nation launches a massive offensive against Agna Kela, unleashing their entire fleet. It proves to be too much for Team Avatar to handle alone, and the Water Tribe prepares to defend their home and people. Katara persuades Pakku to allow the tribeswomen to join the fight. However, the Fire Nation's strategy extends beyond a mere attack. Zhao confides in Iroh about the night of the Ice Moon and when the Ocean and Moon Spirit manifest. His plan? To assassinate the Moon Spirit, crippling the Waterbender's abilities. Meanwhile, Zuko sneaks into the Water Tribe city with hopes to once again capture the Avatar. Katara slows him down in a one-on-one fight, allowing Aang to confront Zhao. Zhao's sinister plot unfolds as he extinguishes the moon, stripping the waterbenders of their abilities and tipping the scales in the Fire Nation's favor. In a desperate move, Aang risks his own life and merges with the Ocean Spirit, wielding the Avatar's might to transform into a colossal sea monster and devastating the Fire Nation fleet. With the Avatar being no more, Iroh finds Zuko amidst the chaos and convinces him to flee. Zuko crosses path with Zhao once more, leading to a fiery confrontation, as well as a revelation that Azula was behind Zhao's moves and that Zuko is merely a pawn in Ozai's plans. Zhao meets his end at Iroh's hands. Despite the Water Tribe victory, Aang has lost himself to a tormented spirit, eternally searching for a partner he'll never find. Yue intervenes, offering herself as a new moon spirit, a noble sacrifice that restores balance and Aang, but at a great personal cost. The morning after the battle, Aang, Sokka, and Katara take in the aftermath and resolve to press on with their journey to save the world. Back at the Fire Nation, Ozai reveals that the attacks on Agnikela was but a diversion, allowing Azula to seize Omashu, bringing them one step closer to conquering the Earth Kingdom. The episode ends by introducing the imminence of Sozin's Comet, setting the stage for the next chapter in the saga. The fight against the Fire Nation is far from over.
Woo, thank you for reading our final recap of this season.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into this.
The fight is definitely far from over.
Are you ready to give our last cabbage rating for the season?
Yes, I can't believe we're here already. Well, I shouldn't say already. It's taken it's taken over a month. So,
the cabbages are ripe and ready to be picked. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so if this happens to be the first episode you're joining us on, Wes and I give what we call cabbage ratings for each episode. So similar to how Rotten Tomatoes does their ratings, instead of tomatoes, we just went with cabbages for obvious reasons. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I can go first.
Okay. What is your cabbage rating for the finale?
Okay, my cabbage rating is...
Drumroll.
9.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So you really liked this episode.
I really did. I felt like from the beginning to the end was action-packed and had my full attention. That's a 9.
So it hooked you.
Yeah.
And
what was your cabbage rating, Pauline?
So mine was, or is, an 8.5. So it's still pretty high, close to yours. Usually you rate, I think, lower than I do. But, I mean, not that 8.5 is bad or anything. It's still one of my highest ratings that I've given for the season. But I did so because the visuals, the lighting, the music, all of it just came together so beautifully. I will admit it was going to be a 9 first, but the way that things were not set up well in the previous episode caused this one to suffer a bit. And we'll get into that more when we really do our deep dive.
It was opposite for me. I mean,
really?
Well, because the last episode was...
yeah, you could, like you said, you could only go up from
Yeah. So I was like, oh, let's get this over with. But then...
going into
I really
the
enjoyed
finale.
it. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I did enjoy it too. Don't get me wrong. But because this part in the cartoon was such a pivotal moment for me, while I did give it a high rating, I have to look at it very critically because of how important this episode was to me as a kid. So I can't wait to go over all of that.
Let's do this.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and go over our personal key moments?
Yes, we will.
Do you want to explain what our personal key moments are for those?
Our personal key moments, we have the Avatar State, which is basically your best moment from the episode. We have a That's Rough Buddy moment because of our boy Zuko. Basically your worst moment of the episode. Mm-hmm. And then you have any honorable mentions you want to throw out there.
Also for our boy Zuko and his honor. Okay, I'll go first this time, if you're okay with that.
Okay, let's do it.
So my Avatar State moment was the whole scene with the wall breach where Chief Arnuk, Han, and several of the other non-benders are putting up their defense after the Fire Nation had come in. That whole scene was my favorite because between the music, the cinematography, the action, the emotion, everything came together so well. And it really gave me, I keep saying this in some of the episodes, but here it really gave me Game of Thrones vibes. You just really felt that scene. You felt the gravity, you felt the action, the colors or lack of colors really was awesome. I just have to give huge props to whoever the director of photography is for this episode. I'm assuming they have more than one, so I'm not sure exactly who it was for this one. This is what season 2 needs to be. Embrace the dark, embrace the gritty. I can't speak for everybody because I know not everybody likes dark and those dark moments. They like the bold and colorful, but I was like, this is what Avatar needs to be. This right here. Do you know what scene I'm talking about?
Yeah. When when Han tells him he'll hold him off while they retreat.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like what they did with his character.
Yeah.
At first, I didn't like it, but this episode was great for him.
Yeah, it was a brief character arc, but I think they did his character justice, and all the cinematic elements just came together here beautifully, and I need more of it, and I wish there was more of it in some of the other episodes. So that was my Avatar State moment. I can keep going on and on about that, but I want to hear yours.
Well, we can get into that later, right?
Yeah.
My Avatar State moment was, and I've done this before, but it was literally Aang's Avatar State. When he went in and walked into the water and became one with
the ocean
spirit. Yes.
That was almost my Avatar State moment. Almost. It was a good moment.
I loved the ocean spirit manifestation.
Koizilla is what
awesome.
The fandom likes to call it. That's its nickname.
Koizilla.
Okay, what about your That's Rough Buddy moment?
It was hard to find one because it really was a good episode. I mean, I was trying not to nitpick because of the last episode. I'd have to say it was when the waterbenders that came up to Katara during the battle at the beginning, and he's like, we haven't finished our training, but we want to do anything that can help.
You didn't like that?
Well, what I didn't like was Katara's like, oh, okay, yeah, go help with that wall over there if you need me. It just, I don't know. He called her Master Katara, and she was like, okay. And then that was it. She just left them to die. You would think that she would be protecting them.
Yeah.
I understand that her story took her elsewhere, but I thought that was weird. They were like, we were here to fight for you, almost. Basically, it was like they were coming up to her and she was their commander. Like, I think they should have went back to them at least one more time, and Katara was like helping them.
Yeah,
in some
you're
way.
right. I wonder if maybe there was more of that, but maybe it got cut out. But I think that would have had more impact as well.
For sure.
So, for my That's Rough Buddy moment, maybe I'll get heat for this. If so, that's okay. I understand. It was Momo's near-death experience.
You're insane, dude.
Not that it's a That's Rough Buddy moment because it's like, oh no, Momo. But it was clearly just a plot device and felt like it came out of nowhere. I just think the execution maybe could have been a little bit different, but then it was clearly like, oh, they need to get to the spirit oasis somehow and to bring that in. So I think it's just the way the context was set up for Momo's heroic act is what made that one a rough buddy moment for me. But like I said, I know I'm probably going to get heat for this. And yeah, I can understand if people disagree because it was an emotional moment, and I feel like normally I would have been all about that, but it was a cheap shot. So yeah,
I don't get. I don't get that. It was a beautiful scene.
We'll talk about it more later because there is something positive about it that I do want to talk about. Like I said, it's the context surrounding why that happened. Okay,
so since you brought up the Oasis, right? Can I tell you, like, my secondary That's Rough Buddy moment?
Oh, yeah. You have a runner-up That's Rough Buddy?
Yeah.
Okay,
Can we do that?
Hit me with it.
Okay. To get to the most sacred place in the Northern Tribe is a swinging door that anyone can walk into. Even if you don't know it's there, if you accidentally lean on the wall, you're in there.
So you're saying it should be harder to get to?
Well, shouldn't it? It's their most
guarded?
sacred place. By the way, there's 2 spirits in there just swimming around at their most vulnerable state, and anyone can walk in there. I mean, they know they're in there, right?
Security could have been better.
Okay.
Like
a passcode to get in there or something.
Face recognition.
Put one security guard there.
Let's move on to our honorable mention. What's yours? So
this is a little dark, but that's why I liked it, was when they showed the blood on the bag that he put the moon spirit in. When Zhao swooped the moon spirit up, when he stabbed,
was there blood?
Twisted, and then the blood slowly came up, rose up through the wool in the sack.
Oh,
whatever it's made of. I don't know if it's wool
or burlap. Or any details?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to.
And
go
then
back
everything
and
went gray. Again. I was like, and even the blood may have been coming up gray, like. It was everything had already
Maybe that's why I didn't notice it.
But oh my gosh, it reminded me of like Sin City. If you ever watched that, I don't know. It was so dark, and I really loved it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to rewatch for that detail. So,
What's your honorable mention?
I guess this is kind of related to what you just said. My honorable mention isn't really one specific moment, but it was the use of color or lack thereof. Again, I gotta say props to whoever the director of photography is. At first, the scenes turned red and then became devoid of color. I was really nervous about how they were going to pull that off, or if they were even going to do that based off of the cartoon, because that was one of the reasons in the cartoon when I came to this episode, I was like, wow, this is really different for a cartoon. As a kid, I feel like a lot of us appreciated that. And the colors, whether it was the combination of the blue in the water contrasted against the orange of all the fire, that was amazing. The fire amongst all the black and white, every time someone would firebend and you'd get that pop of color. That's how it was in the cartoon too. And I felt like it was pretty unique for a cartoon of that time. They did it beautifully in the live action and adapted that so well. And yeah, it's just awesome. The coloring of the whole episode.
I agree. No one can complain about that.
Yes. That was my honorable mention.
Awesome. Okay. Let's really get into this finale. How do you want to go about dissecting it?
Okay, so a lot happens in this episode, and there is a lot to talk about. So I think what we'll do first is we'll talk about the thematic elements like we usually do and just go through the plot. I think the easiest thing to do is just go through the major events that happen in this episode and talk about what happened and give our thoughts. And then a good chunk of our episode will probably be dedicated to answers we got for our question of the week. We did get several. A lot of you guys had thoughts that would come up in Wes and I's conversation anyways. So I wanted to focus on those comments and discuss them and give our thoughts, because I feel like we're going to be saying a lot of the same things, or who knows, there's some things that we may not agree with, and I feel like it deserves some attention. Does that sound good to you?
That sounds painfully... No, it's going to be great.
Like we've said in past episodes, Wes and I, we don't talk about our thoughts and we don't exchange notes or anything. We'll see where it goes. And I have a feeling this episode might go longer than some of our previous ones, but we're at the finale, so I feel like that's okay.
Yeah. We can't hang out with our friends because we end up talking Avatar. And I'm ready to get back to hanging out with our friends. No, I'm just joking.
Okay, so let's start off with the theme. I want to see if you agree with me or not. But I feel like this episode brought up quite a bit about letting go of the past for the sake of the future.
Feel like this is a theme of season 1, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe that's what they wanted to do, was bring it all together for the finale.
That's their job.
Yeah, that's true. We have Paku, just to give some examples of how some of the characters go through this. We have Paku, who learns to let go of rigid traditions to save their tribe.
Lets the women out of the kitchen.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Okay. Well, I mean, Yue was in the kitchen. They had her.
Making ice cream.
Can I just say that Avatar's all about empowering women, and they wanted to make Yue a strong character, and then they put her in the kitchen. But maybe that's their culture, so okay.
Well, don't get sidetracked.
And then we also have Sokka, who had to learn about letting go of past expectations, you know, being a warrior in order to help others. And this was brought up in his conversation with Chief Arnak at the end. So I feel like he had to do a little bit of letting go of the past. Again, recalling back to our conversation in the episode Spirited Away, I think it was, when they were faced with their flashbacks and figuring out what seeds to water, what seeds to not water. So I feel like this, you know, calls back to his conflict about that. Interestingly enough, now he's going to have to work on letting some of that go when it comes to not being able to save Yue. So I do feel bad for Sokka here. That's a big burden.
Well, they showed how Sokka is starting to lead. He's a great leader. You know, at the beginning of the episode where he's flying around directing them while they're on the ship.
Oh, yeah.
So they're showing that he's a good leader. And you can lead without being a warrior.
Yeah, it's not all muscle and fighting. You don't have to do that to be a hero, is what he was saying, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to steer clear of this because it has one of my memorable quotes. So.
Okay, we'll save it. Let's see. We also have Aang and his letting go of his guilt over all the loss to continue his journey. I feel like this is something he's having to remember time and time again, first with the loss of all the airbenders and now with the loss of some of the water tribe people.
Yeah, I'm tired of Aang being so down all the time. I'm ready to see the playful kid who will actually start bending different elements.
Yes. You know what? I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I get that. And then we also have Zuko. And he's also having to learn the lesson of the theme here because he's having to let go of the Avatar in order to, I guess, save himself. He could have tried to go after Aang after he became Koizilla, but he probably could have died too. And Iroh had to tell him, we need to go. There's no more avatars, so Zuko had to let go of what he's been working towards for, 3 years now?
Yeah, who is Zuko without the Avatar?
Exactly, yeah.
Maybe that's what he's afraid of.
So those were the main characters that I thought had to learn the lesson of our theme here. I don't know if you could think of anybody else letting go of the past for the sake of the future, or do you think there's like another theme fitting here for, if you had to choose just one?
No, I think what you picked for the theme is spot on. You nailed it on the head.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about what happens in chronological order. I at least try to keep it chronologically in order. We'll see. We'll start with the arrival of the Fire Nation. I thought it was a great opening scene where Team Avatar swoops in and they take out that one Fire Nation ship. It was very much like the cartoon.
The best opening scene they've done so far.
You think so? Yeah. I think it's one of the best ones for sure.
Is the best one.
Whenever they go back to the Water Tribe to warn how big the fleet is, a couple things. One, I feel like there wasn't a great sense of urgency from Chief Arnuk and Paku and the Water Tribe as a whole. And then two, I'm a little bit confused. Maybe you can help me clarify, but they mentioned how long it was going to be before the Fire Nation was going to be within firing range. And I believe they said like an hour or two. Correct me if I'm wrong. If they had an hour or two to prepare, technically they had more than that because the Water Tribe knew before Aang even arrived that the Fire Nation was coming. So they probably started preparing before Aang got there. But then...
Are you thinking they weren't prepared?
I don't think they were that well prepared.
Why do you say that?
It felt a little bit chaotic. You would think, everybody would get to their posts or have formations or build additional defenses with ice. It's like nothing happened within that 1 or 2 hours. They were all scrambling as if they were caught by surprise.
But it looks like they did a pretty good job until, which we're skipping here, but until Zhao stabbed the moon spirit. They were holding them off. Correct?
I was just confused a little bit about what has the Water Tribe been doing between the time that Team Avatar says, hey, their fire's going to be able to reach us in an hour or two, and then to the point where you do see the fireballs coming.
They could have been fortifying their wall. They were staving them off.
I just didn't look like they were at their posts.
Okay, General
I know, I am nitpicking.
Pauline. Did you recently read the Book of War or what? What kind of strategy? Okay, never mind.
I did like, though, to get off the negativity train, I did like how Katara brought the women waterbenders in, and Yagoda came in and called Paku a fool because somebody needed to say it.
Yeah, more bodies for war is always nice.
One thing that came to mind, though, was that they needed to save some of them to actually be focused on healing, like maybe have a healing station to bring in wounded people. Like you don't want everybody to go fight. You need to have some people that are healing.
Well, they're healers. I'm sure that was mostly what they were doing was healing, correct?
No, they were
and of course
fighting.
At that time they weren't getting hurt a lot.
You just need to be prepared, though.
Let's move on to Momo.
Okay, so the whole
that was next,
Momo,
right?
Yes, Momo's actions and then getting into the Spirit Oasis. As you can see in my notes here, I have WTF Momo, and I already mentioned his actions itself. That's not why that was my that's rough buddy moment. It just felt like it was. At first, it felt kind of random.
It was a great way to bring in the Spirit Oasis, right? Come on, it was good, Pauline.
It was maybe too easy. I don't know. Here's the thing. I think the Spirit Oasis should have been introduced in the previous episode as part of the world building. If the Spirit Oasis is this important, you can't just spring it on us because...
Well, just focus on this episode, because if you start going back and saying, well, they should have did this sooner...
But the thing is, it's tied together, though. Like, it's part of the storytelling. I'm saying that the impact of the Spirit Oasis and the whole Momo thing, it fell flat because the Spirit Oasis wasn't set up very well to begin with.
Well, I mean, Zhao was talking to that spirit, or the fire mage, whatever.
The fire sage.
The fire sage mage. Sage.
Could be a mage.
But, and then didn't they talk about that before Momo did his thing?
Did they bring up the Spirit Oasis?
Or they were talking about this, that's where they come to hang out for one day during the ice moon.
Yeah, but that still wouldn't be a very good introduction of it. So yeah, I think if other things fall into place a little bit better, then the whole Momo part and him needing to be brought to the Spirit Oasis would have had a better impact for me. This is just me personally. I'm not.
I think you're alone
on
this island.
Maybe, and that's fine. I mean, I can't agree with everybody, and I don't expect everybody to agree with me. That's the great thing about this fandom, is that we have differing opinions, and that's all right. I will say the positive thing with what happened to Momo is that it showed
thing. He almost died.
No, I mean story-wise, why it happened. It showed Sokka and Momo's relationship, and you can see that they've become buddies. Sokka cares about Momo, and I mean, it was cute. It was a heartfelt moment. I did like that aspect of it, but yeah, I was just like, what the heck? Like, when it happened, I was like... And I will say, maybe it's because it didn't come as a surprise to me. We did get this part spoiled for us.
Lana?
And so I did know that it was coming. I didn't exactly know what happened or the context or anything like that. So maybe that's why I'm looking at it with a more critical eye. But
yeah, I feel like if you didn't know something was coming with Momo, you would appreciate it more.
I appreciate what he did. I appreciate that Momo is at least more helpful than the avatars, but I think that scene could have just been executed a little bit better. That's all I'm saying. It
was a great scene and a great sequence to get into the Spirit Oasis.
Speaking of the Spirit Oasis, just a side note, another reason why I am looking at this with a more critical eye is because the Spirit Oasis is supposed to be a big deal. It's the most sacred place in the Northern Water Tribe. They could have showcased the beauty of it more, or shown it during the daytime. Like, they should have shown it before the attack, before the invasion. I think there's even a moment in the cartoon where Aang comes in to see the Spirit Oasis, and you see joy on his face, because it's this beautiful spiritual place, and in the cartoon it was set up as a very positive place. But here we're being introduced to the Spirit Oasis amidst chaos and loss.
I feel like the show did more than the cartoon. You could see the beauty, the vegetation, the warmth.
It was dark though.
Okay.
It didn't look warm.
I don't think I'm going to win this one.
Agree to disagree. I even made so back when Animal Crossing was everybody's lives, especially during the pandemic, I tried to make my own little Spirit Oasis on my Animal Crossing island. That's how much I love it. So I just wanted them to do the Spirit Oasis justice.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, we didn't get to see very much of it before things went dark.
Did you put any guards on your Animal Crossing?
No, I did not.
It was vulnerable, wasn't it?
It was vulnerable.
Neighbors couldn't even help you.
You have anything else to say about the Spirit Oasis?
I feel like we're opposite on this. I don't see anything wrong with what they did.
Okay, we can move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
So
you're wrong.
Next week,
I want the last word here.
Let's go ahead and talk about Katara and Zuko's fight, which it didn't go on for too long, but
no, but Katara whooped that ass. I mean, I should say that different. Sorry.
I mean, Sokka said it, so.
Oh, he did.
He has said ass quite a few times in the Northern Water Tribe.
Sorry about my
feeling a little feisty.
Dirty language. Katara whooped his butt.
Yeah.
And I think she was going to keep on beating him.
Yeah, for sure. We got that line from Zuko where he said, "You've found a master."
Yeah, but I wish we could have got the one where he's like, "I rise with the sun," or
Yes!
oh my gosh, that would have been great. But
"You rise with the moon, I rise with the sun," something like that. I love that line. We didn't get it, but it's okay. But we did get Zuko getting burned by Aang, and I don't mean firebending.
that was pretty funny.
He says,
I wish we had more than that, but yeah.
yeah, he says, "I wasn't talking about you." I was like, "Oh, burn!"
We should set that up better. But I guess if you're listening to us, you've watched that episode. You know what we're talking about.
Yeah, whenever Aang just says, "Go easy, enough people have been hurt," Zuko thinks that he's addressing him, but he's talking about
He's talking to
Katara.
Katara.
Yeah, he's talking to Katara. If Aang's words actually had some fire to it, then Zuko would have gotten another scar on the other side of his face.
Third-degree burn.
So, mic drop. Okay, we can move on to the part where Zhao kills the moon. First of all, Zhao has to look for the ocean and moon spirits, and this is probably where we are going to disagree as well, but this is another thing I feel like they didn't set up very well.
Which was?
The ocean and moon spirits, our introduction to them.
What didn't you like? I mean, they're fish. I like how Zhao said the reason why Iroh's there is to point out what the spirits look like, right?
Right.
And Iroh's like, they could be two trees,
Yeah,
bugs.
that's true.
I mean, you don't know.
I think the fish should have been shown either earlier in the episode, but really ideally.
Did you
in the
like this
previous
episode? Because
I did. Okay.
You are really negative.
I do like this episode, but I have to nitpick
Sounds like you really didn't like the episode.
the whole ocean and moon spirit. I loved it so much as a kid that I have to look at it more critically. I mean, not that I have to, but that's why I am looking at it more critically. I guess all I'm trying to say is I feel like there should have been a little bit more focus on the fish. Because if I am a first-time watcher, maybe I would have felt like, oh, this came out of nowhere.
Right, but as for all episodes, they are pushed for time.
Yeah.
And there are things that we get irritated about, but overall,
10 episodes, Netflix. Go to 10 episodes, please. But the things that I'm harping on, these are just the things that brought it down a half point for me. Because like I said, I was going to give it a 9, so I have to bring them up. I have a question since we're to the point where Zhao kills the moon. He kills it with Avatar Korok's knife. Was there something, aside from it being made from... What was it that Kirk said?
materials from the spirit world.
Yes. Aside from that, did it have any significance? Did it have to be that knife?
I think maybe that's because when he was talking to the Fire Sage walked over to that knife and pulled it, and showed Zhao the knife. So maybe that's why Avatar Korra was like, "Hang, my knife's back in the Northern Water Tribe. This can't be good." So,
yeah, I guess I was just saying, why isn't it
because he knew
good?
the Fire Nation had it. So maybe that's the only thing that can kill a spirit in our world is something from the spirit world, is what I got from it.
Okay, that's what I thought it was implying, but I was thinking maybe I'm wrong, so...
But if you weren't really paying attention, you would have missed that.
Right.
So I brought it up.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm so glad we did get Iroh's quote, "Whatever you do to that spirit, I will unleash on you tenfold."
Which he didn't do.
What do you mean?
When did he unleash death tenfold?
He did. He firebended at Zhao.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did not hit Zhao
He
until he hit him later. He didn't do enough firebending, I didn't think.
Like, it was delayed, though. Yeah.
He knocks the moon spirit out of Zhao's hands, right? Mm-hmm. Aang's, for some reason, airbending the sack up in the air.
Instead of towards him?
Right, yeah, you could, or push it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then Uncle Iroh, they show him, like, I don't know why he's running towards Zhao when he has fire, but
That was kind of odd, the whole slow motion thing. I think it would have been more impactful if it was quick and made it seem like Aang had successfully got the sack away from Zhao, and then all, like, out of nowhere, the knife comes through. But because it was slow motion, it's like you knew Zhao was going to stab the fish.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing bad with that. I just think maybe if it was more of a surprise, it would have had more impact too.
I'm not sure how many times they've put Iroh in slow motion, but I don't think any of those times have done him justice.
That's interesting. Okay, if I rewatch the whole season, I'm gonna have to look for those moments. Since you brought up Iroh, I will say, not to dwell on this too much, I do feel like that some of the scenes in this episode were some of his weakest, like just acting wise. You know,
Yeah,
some
I
of
agree.
it felt a little bit forced or slightly cheesy, but then other times were great. So I think maybe there's just some things there that didn't do Iroh justice.
Yeah, his character in this episode was very confusing to me, just because of the cartoon.
Yeah,
But I like that they're building their own characters this whole series.
true.
There's hints of the cartoon, but I like that they're giving the characters different personalities almost.
Yeah, like a different flavor.
Yeah. I like that.
Some of it I like, some of it I
I'm
don't.
not liking I'm not liking what they're doing with Iroh, but
Oh, really? Well, you know what? We'll save it for maybe our season 1 wrap up.
Yeah.
While we're still on this scene, though, I already brought up the coloring, but just when everything goes red, amazing, and then to black and white was amazing, adapted so well. I don't know if any other TV show has done this or any other cartoon. You've watched way more things than I have. Can you think of anything?
though I referenced the movie Sin City earlier.
Oh, okay.
So if you ever get a chance to watch that movie and you haven't, watch it, because sometimes there's color, sometimes there's not, which they almost do, you know, like with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Who Framed
Who Framed
Roger
Roger Rabbit? I love that movie.
So it really, for us older people, we've
not
seen
that
that,
old.
so it makes it, and we watched that when we were younger, so it really harkens back to when we were younger. So that's probably gives you that feeling of being younger and watching.
Yeah, you're probably right. It was just great. And once the moon is gone, and I talked about the non-benders and how they had their last stand. If I were to describe any of the scenes as like maybe a jaw-dropping moment, when they first breached the wall, the water tribe person
like
fell,
following them with the camera.
and the ship comes through.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. And then the fight, the camera movement, again, I gotta say, director, photography, amazing job. And the whole production crew, like I said, just reminds me of some of the battles in Game of Thrones. Who knows, maybe it's also because there are dragons with fire, and then you have the Ice King. What is he? The Ice... My God, it's been forever. The King. The Night King?
That sounds right. The Night King.
Wow, it's been too long.
I just miss Hodor.
Yeah.
But no, I see what you're saying.
But
yeah.
you see how it gives it that feel, and just how the camera moves with the characters fighting.
Yeah, and the CGI was way better in this episode than when they used it in previous.
Oh yeah.
Just because of all the action.
That's why I just had to bring this up twice, because I feel it deserves it. You can tell this is where a lot of the budget went. Speaking of budget, I know where the animal budget went to. It went to Koizilla.
They had to save it, and I have to say it was good.
Aang becomes the ocean spirit, and he becomes what we've nicknamed Koizilla, the ocean spirit monster. And yeah, I feel like it's where the whole animal budget went to. Koizilla ate all the animals, and but it looked awesome, though. I will say it looked awesome. I loved it. It gave me chills just like in the cartoon. I want to just give one more negative thing. I say one more, but
She's going to be
this, I'm telling you, this
Love
is,
the episode, but here...
but this is one of the bigger points for me. So when Aang fuses with the ocean spirit and he goes down into the water, that part fell flat for me.
What?
And here's why, okay? I know that this is not going to be everybody's opinions, because I'm referencing my childhood here, but it was that moment in the cartoon when I was watching it as a 12-year-old, when Aang looks like he's on top of the water, and he says, "No, it's not over," and he goes straight down. It was this chilling moment as a kid, and that was where I was just completely hooked with Avatar, and I thought this is going to be the best series ever. That's where I knew that Avatar is special.
They did the exact same thing.
They did not do the exact same thing. I think if he was on top of the water and then he went straight down, it would have given it almost Stranger Things vibes with his voice and his eyes glowing, and then he just gets sucked down into the water completely. In this adaptation, he like waded into the water. And
while you hear the voice.
While you hear the
cartoon,
voice.
You don't hear the voice before he goes down.
But then when he does...
do you hear any voice?
He has like that big boomy voice. But here, when he wades into the water and he goes down, it's almost like you don't really see Aang go down. The Netflix version was just a slightly more tamed version of the cartoon. And you would think it'd be the other way around.
In a
You're so frustrated
almost like
with
a
me right now.
satanic voice, which was awesome.
Yeah, so that was fine.
Before he went down,
Uh-huh.
he's glowing.
Uh-huh.
And boom, like someone threw a ball and he got dunked into the water.
It was very tame. It wasn't...
What?
It was like...
What did you want? What did you want? What do you want?
more intensity.
Was it the music director's fault?
No, I don't know how else to explain it without showing you a side-by-side. Which is not great for podcast format, but the impact felt more tame. That's it.
Okay.
But I just had to bring this up because this was the main thing I was looking for when we started this episode. How are they going to do the moment that Aang goes down into the water and becomes the ocean spirit? That was the main thing I was looking for. And they almost had it. I promise I still loved it. Even though it doesn't
really
sound like it.
God,
but
you agree with her? I mean, didn't get pulled down in the...
No, he got pulled down in the water, but it just felt more tame.
Okay.
But to top it off with something positive, because I feel like I have to. I already mentioned this, the blue and orange together when Koizilla came up and is going after the firebenders. The combination of the blue and orange, oh my gosh, just so beautiful.
So you like the color scheme?
The majority of my Cabbage rating and why I rated it so high, a lot of it is due to the cinematography. I will say that. And the music but then there were other things.
One of them do all season is they gave you action and...
The cinematography did the heavy lifting.
Yeah,
here.
it was bending. Basically, it was all bending and going red and gray.
Yeah. So anyways,
Okay.
we'll move on. So what happens after this one? Zuko and Zhao's fight, their confrontation and the end of Zhao. This was...
I like how you didn't say that because there was no body. He didn't see Zhao die.
Did Zhao die? It was a little unclear.
Are you saying that they've been hit with fire all season, right? A lot of characters have. Never killed one. Other than Ozai.
Ozai has killed
those,
several people,
yes.
yes.
But are you saying that Iroh killed him with one blast? Is that what they were implying?
It was unclear.
Okay.
And maybe that was on purpose. The rule is if you don't see a body...
Was the water glowing blue when he fell into the water?
It was.
Okay, so...
just from what Netflix has shown us at face value, Zhao has died because Iroh killed him.
Okay.
That is what they're showing us. They had a brief but a great fight. I did love that whole sequence. I love Zhao's final spiel to Zuko.
We didn't talk about Zhao's turn, like his character arc, before he stabbed the fish. What the heck? Now he wants to be the Fire Lord?
Was it like that in the cartoon?
I don't think he wanted to be the Fire Lord.
You just okay.
Wanted to be legendary. Oh, legend. Oh.
Maybe that should have been a theme, the title. What makes a legend and what's...
But I mean, now he's telling Iroh that you can back his legitimacy.
What did you think about that?
I thought it was stupid.
You didn't like it?
Can I say stupid?
Yeah.
That was stupid. I don't know why they did that. Why did they give him that speech on becoming Fire Lord? I mean, did he ever respect Ozai then? So he was always scheming against Ozai?
Yeah, I don't know if he necessarily liked Ozai. I think I am okay with this. I'm not saying that it's not stupid, Because I think that's correct. Who are you, Zhao, to think that you could accomplish this? But I think it's a good final look into Zhao's character. Because, let's be honest, Zhao is a little bit delulu here. And I think this is a good way to show that delusion. I like that you did bring that up. It's interesting that they brought this aspect to the adaptation. But I think it was fine. I don't think anybody believes that he could become Fire Lord, but he believes it. That's like, really, dude? Okay.
Right. It was just, I thought, was out of character for him. I mean, we're not talking about the cartoon.
Right.
I mean, even in previous episodes, did he ever reveal or any hints that he wanted to be the Fire Lord?
No, and I don't think we're to believe that he had that goal to begin with, but I think maybe the more recognition he got, the more power he got, it just snowballed, and he was just drunk on that ambition.
On the power.
But like we mentioned earlier, we didn't see a body, so I think that they left it ambiguous for a reason, because then it opens doors for season 2. I don't think I like that it was Iroh, though, that quote-unquote killed him. That seemed a little out of character. Is that something that you were referring to earlier with some of the out-of-character things that Iroh did?
I wish they would have followed the cartoon right there.
Me too.
Where Zuko's defending himself. He reaches to save Zhao, and Zhao declines. He'd rather die.
Yeah. So for those who haven't seen the cartoon, the ocean spirit comes out from the water, or part of it, or something. Basically, the ocean grabs Zhao and pulls him down. And it's the ocean that kills Zhao. And before he goes down, Zuko reaches out a hand to him so that he can help him, and Zhao refuses his hand and accepts his fate. So I agree with you there. I think it would have been more impactful if they kept it that way, not for the sake of, I need to follow the cartoon, but because of what it says about Zuko's character.
Yes, his honor.
Okay, so let's move on to Yue's sacrifice. This was a little different.
Right, the cartoon, it was Iroh that pointed out that she'd been touched by the moon. And this one, it was all her choice.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked the change. I liked that it was her idea because it gave Yue more agency. What are your thoughts, though? Do you like that it was her idea, or do you think they should have had it be somebody else's?
Oh, it was okay. She realized that she was touched by the moon and could make that sacrifice.
I've grown to like Yue's character in this adaptation. Not that I didn't like her.
You started off not liking her, right?
Right. And
that wig is ridiculous.
Well, okay, it's not her I didn't like. It was the wig.
That was a
That's
horrible
it.
Pauline impersonation.
In the cartoon, it's not that I didn't like Yue. I did like Yue as a character. I feel like it could have been done better, but with it being a cartoon and the episodes were so short, I understood why they were pretty quick with some of the things with Yue. But with Netflix, they gave us more to like about her and her character. And I like the actress. I wish that they gave her better hair. I feel so bad that they did her dirty like that. But I really did like her acting and thought she struck a good balance between that poised regal princess and somebody that's also strong and down to earth and relatable and likable.
I like what they did with her because she's not just a figurehead in this. She is the spirit counselor.
Priestess, or she had some kind of spiritual leader title.
Yeah, she's not just the princess.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think we've brought that up before. But that was the end of Yue, and she became the moon. And I'm pretty sure her name means moon or something about the moon. Pretty sure.
Oh, we didn't talk about it last episode?
I don't think so.
I thought you... Okay.
I didn't think so.
How about the aftermath of the battle?
Yes, this is when we see the people that have died, and we find out that Han and that other kid... I feel bad. Did he have a name? If he had a name, I'm so sorry.
I think it was Icebender 4. No, I don't think he had a name. Maybe he did.
I do like that they showed that. One, I'm glad that they didn't shy away from death because, with Nickelodeon, they have to be a little bit more light-handed on it. And Netflix, of course, you could be more direct, but there were people that died, and not only was there death, there were kids that died. Han is dead, that kid's dead. Han
had an awesome last scene.
He did. I really liked what they did with Han, and that they didn't shy away from the result of war. You have people on both sides that suffered. Chief Arnook, I will say, didn't seem as devastated as Sokka.
Devastated
about losing his daughter?
Mm-hmm. We say it at the same time. Sorry.
That's okay. Something I forgot to mention earlier, the emotion with Chief Arnook and Yue's relationship, I feel like wasn't quite there. I wish that they had built on their relationship as father and daughter a little bit more in the previous episode. I know you said not to bring up the previous episode, but there wasn't really anything shown about it except during the attack, and Chief Arnook is like, no, Yue, you need to go because you are the future of our tribe. That was really the only thing you saw between the two of them, I feel. So then the impact of Chief Arnook losing his daughter was a miss here. I felt more for Sokka losing somebody that he hasn't known for very long compared to the chief losing his daughter.
I don't know how it would feel to lose your daughter, but I think as a leader of the Water Tribe, Arnook had to console Sokka because he is a leader. So he was trying to make Sokka feel good. Maybe he as a leader at this point, he doesn't have time to mourn.
Yeah, I think that could be true too. Let's see. Over to Zuko and Iroh. They are back on a boat.
What a coincidence.
It is a great bookend because they started on a boat, they ended on a boat. It was like the end of the cartoon too, so I can't give all of the
That's their
writing
lot in
credit
life,
to...
is to be on a boat.
They were talking about Lieutenant G and trying to speculate. I think Iroh was trying to make Zuko feel better about his crew because they died, didn't they?
Did they show it?
Were there any firebenders that survived that?
They didn't show any retreating like they did in the cartoon.
Because in the cartoon, they didn't want to kill everybody.
I don't think they ever suggested that the whole fleet was destroyed. Right? They showed a lot of boats exploding and the moon spirit pushing, just like in the cartoon, pushing them away. The moon spirit comes down and smashes the water and sends a big wave.
Did they survive that?
I mean, if you're far enough back, yeah, you wouldn't.
I guess. It's just the way Iroh brought up Lieutenant G and the others, and it's like, well, I'm sure they got away, but...
If he says G was smart and wouldn't be at the front of the battle, so...
I think Iroh is just trying to make him feel better.
I think we'll see the 41st Division again.
Do you think so? Because it's like, did they die anyways? They got sacrificed anyways.
With the way things are going, I bet we see them again.
I feel bad for those guys because they were going to be sacrificed to begin with, and then their whole journey ends with them possibly meeting that same fate anyways, just 3 years later. That was just Ozai's plan. This whole attack was just a diversion to capture Omashu.
Yeah, how huge is the Fire Nation army? Jeez.
They must be.
It looked like he sacrificed, like he was willing to just, we weren't going to take Northern Water Tribe. Like, even the Fire Sage is like, then why would you attack it? You sacrifice so much. Their army must be huge.
Yeah, I did like that they brought this in though, because I feel like this is a good tie-in with what happens to King Boomy. And we know that some things are going to be skipped in season 2, but I feel like this was a good way to still tie in that part of the storyline and how Azula takes control of Omashu. But
yeah, they're going to show us how they did that?
I don't think they need to.
Okay.
I don't think they need to. But now we know what Ozai was doing with Azula, because in a previous episode, we were wondering, what is Ozai's game plan here? It seems like he's toying with Azula. And now we know. He was trying to get her fired up, no pun intended, with everything going on with Zuko, and that was Ozai's plan all along. It also, I guess, answers my question that I had before about whether or not Ozai actually cares about Zuko. Because whenever the Fire Sage mentions, like, oh, you know that Zuko was there in the Northern Water Tribe too, and Ozai kind of pauses, and I was wondering, is he going to show grief for possibly losing his son, or is he not going to care at all? And who says sometimes you have to sacrifice the weak or something like that?
He was right, though. Like, if Zuko's strong, he would survive.
Do you think he
Zuko's
thinks
strong.
that? Do you think that he thinks that Zuko was strong? He said if he's strong, he will survive. But do you think genuinely Ozai thinks that Zuko would have survived?
Well, if I had only watched this, I would say yes, he's still testing Zuko to become the next Fire Lord.
You think so? That's interesting, because I don't know. Oh, and then finally, Sozin's Comet gets mentioned. They haven't said anything about Sozin's Comet until the very end. Do you like that they saved it?
Yeah, I like that it was over and then we had this special ending. It's the next journey, right? It's a good cliffhanger to wait for season 2.
I was going to be mad if they didn't mention Sozin's Comet at all, because I thought maybe they just completely did away with Sozin's Comet, so then they're not tied to that timeline. But Sozin's Comet is the impetus for everything, the events that happen later. So I was really worried that we were not going to get any mention of Sozin's Comet at all. But they left it just for the very end, which I guess that was a smart move.
Maybe they should have talked about the Day of Black Sun, too, because that's got to come up.
Well, that's way later, though. We'll have a podcast episode on what we think will happen or any future concerns, and we'll make sure to tag that episode a spoiler, because if we're going to talk about it, we have to give spoilers. Do you have anything else as far as the events that happened with this episode?
No, I'm ready to move on.
Okay, then let's move on to favorite bending moment. And we'll try to fly through these pretty quickly because we do need to get to comments from other people. But what was your favorite bending moment?
It's probably...
You didn't write it down, did you?
No, I wrote it down, but I'm going to go with something different because my Avatar State moment goes along with my favorite bending moment. I'm going to go with the beginning bending with Aang and Katara fighting on the ship. I like how fast-paced it was. It wasn't like the last episode where everything was in slow motion. I'm like, they could have dodged that. They could have dodged that shit. But no, it was a lot faster. I liked it. I like that they did that because it immediately pulled me into the episode. They got. Oh yeah, it's like a good hook. They hit the bending just like real fast.
Yeah, they got right into the action. This is gonna be a good one. That's why the opening was great.
So, what was your favorite bending moment?
So mine would be the fire bending during Zuko and Zhao's fight, just because that's where it really showcased the color of the fire against the lack of color and everything else. So every time that there was fire, it lit up the characters and the scene just briefly, and before it went back to completely black and white. So I need to find like a video where maybe they talk a little bit how they lit all that and what they had to do.
So it really
in production.
Wasn't the actual bending, it was the colors around.
Yeah, I guess so.
Awesome.
But yeah. Okay, then let's do favorite character.
Who or what was your favorite?
Who or what? My favorite character, this is a tough one because I almost had a tie, but I chose Zhao. I feel like every scene that he was in this episode, and really the whole season, I enjoyed his scenes. And even though some of his lines were delivered a little bit more subtle and there wasn't anything big and flashy about him, I just like how they did his character. What about yours?
Okay. Obviously, it was Momo, right?
What do you mean
courageous
obviously?
Momo. No, Zuko. Zuko was my favorite character in this. Just because his acting, really. He's really killing it.
I agree.
Dallas.
I wanted to pick Zuko, but I feel like I always brag about Zuko. So
yeah, I thought it was going to get really cringy when I was doing his monologue when Zuko was holding him down. Mm-hmm. Thought that was getting ready to get cringy, and then Dallas did a really good job.
Yeah, the emotion. Yeah. It was great. I loved it. And I also loved when he told Uncle Iroh that Lu-Ten would have been proud of him. That was a touching moment that we didn't talk about earlier, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
I didn't like that as much, but yeah.
Compared to the cartoon, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you there.
Okay, let's do the Animal Watch.
Okay, the Animal Watch.
Super excited.
That didn't have the budget because it went to Koizilla.
Wait, was Koizilla... Is that part of our Animal Watch? No.
No. It's spirit form, I guess. But we did get the ocean and moon spirits as mortal fish form.
And they got tons of screen time. I don't know why you think they did.
I could talk a long time about it, so I'm not going to backtrack to that because you're going to hate me. I was
trying to push you.
But I'm not taking the bait. No pun intended there too.
Oh,
but
clever.
So while they're not hybrid animals, I mean, they were still animals in this episode. Did you notice, unless I completely missed this, they did not give the names of the ocean and moon spirit?
No, they did not.
So anybody that hasn't watched the cartoon, the ocean and moon spirits' names are Twee and La. So Twee means push, and that's the moon spirit, and La means pull, which is the ocean spirit. And I don't know why they didn't mention that. They brought in
Zhao
push.
Did.
I don't think so.
He said push and pull.
He said push and pull, but we didn't get the names of the spirits being Twee and La, and I feel like that's a really cool piece of lore that should have been included.
We don't give us a lot of animals. Hopefully in the next seasons they will introduce us to
better
some different animals.
Yes. They need to up that budget for the animal department. Okay, let's do our memorable quotes. What was your favorite?
I have an obvious one, which is you don't have to be a warrior to be a hero, which was Chief Arnook saying to Sokka. I think that's going to be huge for Sokka.
I really like that one too.
And then I have change is a way to new life.
Who said that?
It was towards the end. I think it was Paku talking to Katara.
Oh, okay.
You don't hold on to the past. Also, which is your theme. Part of your theme, right?
Good point. Yeah. I didn't catch that one. It is part of the theme.
What's some of your memorable quotes?
Okay, so I think you already know what my favorite quote was. It was Yagoda when she said, "What good is it relying on the past when it stops us from having a future?" I'm glad that Yagoda was the one that said it. And like I said, she called Paku a fool. And it's like, yes, Yagoda, you tell him. But I don't need to talk at length about the quote because this was the theme of the episode. And then the runner-up was Zhao's line when he said, "You are the fire in which her iron was forged," talking to Zuko about Zula. And this was just... it was just such a delicious quote. It was so good. And Zhao has a way with words. I'm not going to lie. It was a really good piece of writing.
Yeah, it really stood out in that scene. I liked it.
Okay, we've talked so much. Like I said, this episode is going to be a lot longer than what our usual episode runtimes are. Let's go ahead and get into our question of the week. So... put out a question on Facebook and Instagram. I also put it out into just some of the online communities on Facebook, and we got a lot of thoughts. Our question of the week was, what were your thoughts on the finale, and was it enough to excite you for seasons 2 and 3? So I think we got most of them from Facebook, so I wanted to go ahead and go through and read them. Since we got so many comments, there are some that we want to save for maybe a future episode, and I wish we had time to read all of them, but there's just a lot, and we're already over time here, but we'll try to get to as many as we can. Let's go ahead and start with this first one, and let me make it bigger because...
Good daddy blind. Our first comment comes from Krista A. They say, "I thought they handled the last 2 episodes very well. The ocean spirit kaiju looked great, and there were many moments where I felt the emotion hit home. I hope they take criticism going into season 2 and 3 and improve upon the area of the show that need it."
I 100% agree with Krista. I hope that they take some of the things that the fandom is saying as constructive criticism and improve the next season. I didn't like the previous episode for this one, but I thought that despite all of my complaints earlier, I still think that they did this one very well as far as the cinematography goes.
Yeah, I agree with Krista. They're doing with certain characters that aren't following the cartoon. I like what they're doing. And also, I hope they listen to the fandom, but I'm guessing that they already have at least season 2 ready to go.
Yeah, like
probably
right now.
Set on what they want to do.
Yeah.
So we just gotta cross our fingers and
Hope for the best.
But if you're playing off this episode, I'm excited for season 2.
Okay, let's go to our next one. So this is from Rainier D, and they said, stakes being raised with how Aang agreed to be a conduit of vengeance and could possibly have been lost forever, feeling a bit of that in the wrong time and era headspace he's in, really amped up the weight of the scene for me. Because back then it was just, when they say back then, I believe they're referring to the cartoon, it was just Aang speaking with the Avatar's voice, sinking into a pool with no real understanding of what's happening. And then Yue's death hit harder here for me than it did in the cartoon, since we got quite the amount of time getting to know her character more. And I loved how the actress portrayed her. That wig, though, girl, they did you wrong.
Well, they were great points that Rainier pointed out.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the how they added in the possibility of Aang being lost forever. Yue had done that explanation, which I guess was okay, but I do like that they increased the stakes a little bit. It felt a little bit exposition-y to me in a moment that needs to be like quick, and it's such a crucial moment at that point, but it is what it is. I do agree that Yue's death here hit harder for me than in the cartoon.
Yeah, they gave the character more depth. And Rainier seems to think that the Avatar scene going in the water was good. I agree.
Thank
Pauline
you, Rainier.
They didn't pull him down in the water.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's one part that I don't quite agree with, but that's okay. That's the great thing about the fandom. We don't have to have the same opinions. Okay, you want to read the next one?
The next one is from Kevin K.
You know who that is, right, Wes?
Kevin says, Zhao seems to have become a spirit expert awfully quick. Also went from finally getting in the game to, I will replace the Fire Lord, a bit quickly. Overall, I enjoyed this entire season and I'm excited for next season. I like that they are not following cartoon too closely. I hope they change more. What fun is it if you already know the ending? And Kevin is an air nomad.
Yep, they said that they are a self-proclaimed air nomad member.
Well, I happen to know Kevin, and he's not an air nomad.
You don't think so? I think he is.
No, he needs the internet.
But going to what Kevin said here, you guys happen to actually agree with the whole Zhao saying that he wants to become the Fire Lord.
Yeah, like it just came out of nowhere.
So,
What were we going to...
Oh, I was just saying, you already know that I don't 100% agree. I mean, that I liked it. I was fine with it.
I was fine with it too, but it just like, okay, here comes one out of left field. I want to be Fire Lord.
I can see that. I will agree with Kevin when they say that they like the cartoon isn't following too closely, and that it's more fun if...
Yeah, I'm with Kevin here too, because I thought it would upset me more back when we first started this journey. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, well, we were all like, they better do this right. You know.
I was okay with changes.
Okay. Never mind, then I'm going to stop.
No, but you were...
No. Our next comment.
You read it because I have it in blue and it messed up my pattern, so just
I get to read 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Our next comment comes from Robert J. They say, I just hate that they didn't show him waterbending. That's the point of book 1 other than that. Can't wait till they drop the second one.
Robert is talking about Aang, not
which
waterbending.
He's correct. Book
I agree,
1.
Robert.
Okay, I did ask Pauline a question while we were watching this last episode. Was Aang waterbending when he came up in the ball of air at the end?
Water.
Well, yeah. So was he waterbending, and you brushed it off as, well, he's in the Avatar state?
Yeah, I mean...
But, he was waterbending.
But he was channeling all the past avatars, so it's not that he learned waterbending. That's just Avatar state stuff. We can't count that.
Saying we got to see him waterbend.
I don't think that was waterbending.
For like 2 seconds.
When he was in the ball thing, yeah, I don't think that's waterbending.
Or was it water falling off the ball?
Yeah, I didn't see any waterbending.
Okay. You were right, Robert.
So, but
I don't know. No waterbending.
I know we didn't talk about... I don't think we talked about it too much in the previous episode, but I also wish that they had shown Aang learning some water bending from Katara, or at the very least, Pakku being like, oh, you haven't learned water bending, well, let's teach you something. But it is what it is. Hopefully they rectify it in season 2. So moving on, let's read thoughts from Lashandria W. And they said, the only thing I'm mad about with the finale is that General Zhao's speech about Azula would have been an excellent introduction for her for the future series if they hadn't ruined her character. What do you think? Do you agree that Azula's character was ruined? I think this speech would have been an excellent introduction, but I'm curious to see or to hear what you think about just her character in general.
Yeah, I would say that how they ended this episode kind of makes me not like her. But this was like the first time where I was like, okay,
why is that?
What the heck? Because, okay, so she shows up and Omashu has fallen. We don't know how. We don't know what capacity she had in Omashu falling. Mm-hmm. But then she's like, takes off her mask. Okay, what's next? What did you do? Just your presence there? Like,
there's blanks we have to fill in, and I don't think they have to show it.
Okay, they have to show it.
There's some things about Azula that I liked, and then some things that I didn't. Mainly because I don't know what it means for her character moving forward, but we will see. So,
and when did they're talking about Zhao's speech? When did Azula tell Zhao that was Zuko's? Those were Zuko's swords.
It didn't show it, but we find out in what he says that, oh, that is how Zhao found out. Because
they never showed that.
No.
Because Zhao apparently at some point wrote to Azula talking about some sword, and she's like, you know what? That sounds like my brother's swords.
Yeah, there are no photographs.
Those sound exactly like my brother's swords. Yeah.
I could see it happening.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, do you want to read this next one from Tony?
Next one's from Tony S. The finale was okay. Didn't like how Aang didn't learn any water bending. Mm-hmm. You know, Pakku. All that time you were telling Aang he should have been learning on his journey, you could have been teaching him water bending.
Preach.
Overall, season 1 was mostly good. Not great. I have my issues with it, but I can see it improving if done right. So I'm looking forward to season 2 and 3. It will be cool seeing them in live action, even if they're not good. I watch with my sister, who along with me grew up on the cartoon and love it. We do a rewatch every year.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, sharing it with the family.
Yes, for sure. And I think I'm in the same boat that some things there were issues, and then other things...
He's right, though. Pakku didn't teach Aang anything.
Yeah, Pakku, you could have been a little bit more useful.
They didn't even give us a reason why. Because he taught Katara, right?
No, he didn't. In this, he hasn't taught Katara anything.
That's true. Sorry.
So, yeah, Pakku, useless. Okay, so then we have Robert R. says, I loved some things and did not like others. I wanted Admiral Zhao to be taken by the ocean spirit. I loved the idea of the ocean getting revenge for the moon's murder. Even so, this is way better than the movie that does not exist. Yeah, I agree, Robert. I wish that they had kept it, because that's how I saw it as a kid, was the ocean getting revenge for...
Yeah, it was great in multiple ways. Ocean getting revenge, and Zuko showing his honor.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe they have special plans for the next season in regards to this. You want to read this next one?
Okay, our next comment comes from Carlos L. They say, I was highly disappointed. There are so many things to discuss, but I'm going to need some tea first. Hashtag so disappointed.
Get that tea, Carlos. There are so many things to discuss. I wouldn't say I'm super disappointed, because I still enjoyed it quite a bit, but I can appreciate their opinion, and that's fair.
There were some highs that were really great about this series, but there was also equally, or maybe more, some lows.
Oh, you think more so?
There are so many things to improve on.
Recap, yeah. Okay, so then we have thoughts from Maddie K. They said, I thought it was okay, good even, but not great. I have a couple gripes about how some things were done. One, Yue's sacrifice, it didn't really hit that hard. And also, since when was she a waterbender? Two, Aang didn't
We're going to read all this and then we're going to dissect
Oh,
it?
yeah,
'Cause this is a
okay.
lot.
Okay, so I was going to say about at first in the previous episode about like why is UA a waterbender? They better have a good point to this or else it's pointless. But upon rewatching this episode, I think it was okay, and she was able to waterbend Sokka to like waterbend the ice around his feet so that he couldn't move. So
I wish we could talk to Maddie because I want to know why they don't like UA's sacrifice. And it's okay that she's a waterbender, I think, because she's their spiritual guide and she's a healer.
yeah, well, people have different opinions, and it's okay.
Okay.
So 2, Aang didn't waterbend like at all.
Agreed.
We agreed on that one. Number 3, Katara went from 0 to 100 in 2 episodes, and everyone started calling her a master. But I don't know, her bending is still just okay in my opinion. I'm not getting the quote-unquote master vibe yet. I do think Katara's skills grew a little too fast or in an unexplained way.
I disagree on that because that's what makes Katara so special, is that she can pick up, just by watching other waterbenders now, she can pick up so fast, which does not necessarily, she shouldn't be called a master right now.
Yeah, because she
I
skipped
agree
some
with
steps.
that part. Yeah, like you ain't even close, yo. But it's okay that she picked up so fast because that's what makes Katara so unique as a waterbender.
I can't say that I 100% agree, but I can see where you're coming from. So 4, and this is still Maddie, I didn't like the whole thing where they were like, Aang doesn't exist anymore. He's given his body over to the ocean spirit and he's gone forever now. Like, no, he's not. He went back to normal a few minutes later. Why so dramatic for no reason? Like,
I have to agree with that. I liked it. I would have liked it more if we were given more information and it lasted longer. Like, yeah. I agree with what they're saying. Yeah, it was over pretty quick. Like, yeah, he's gone. Sorry, no more Avatar. JK.
And they rushed in
JK.
that piece of information when it was like most convenient. And yeah, I don't have an idea of how they could have done it better, but
Hey, Maddie, it probably would have been better if, like, Aang doesn't come back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like,
come back.
I don't know how they would have
Rose and
ended
Titanic,
that,
come back.
but if that would have been a good ending. Like, okay, there's no more Avatar.
That's awful.
But then they bring him back in season 2 in some spectacular way. You know?
I think we would have all been in an uproar. Interesting thought, though. Yeah. And then Maddie goes on to say, I did think the live action Ocean Spirit was cool, though, a bit of a Godzilla vibe. This show has so much potential to be good with a couple changes in directing and writing. Agree there. And the internet has certainly been giving this feedback loudly. I have some hope that the writers will take this feedback and seasons 2 and 3 could be better. I'm really enjoying Zuko's arc too and excited to see Toph in live action, so I'm definitely going to keep watching. I mean, I think I agree.
It's a great comment. I'm glad to hear other optimistic people.
Yeah.
Because I am too. Like, you know, yes, there is some things that need to change. But if we get the same volume in season 2, like if we get, it just needs to be a little better in season 2.
Yeah. Well, I would much rather do that trend versus, oh, the first season was great and then it fizzles out. Right. So I'd rather have it be that way. Okay, do you want to read the next one?
Our next comment is from Tom M. I hate how Katara doesn't study with Pakku and is just declared a master. I'm all for demonstrating strong women, but she had zero instruction and was just declared a master. The show at least portrayed her excelling as a student under him. It feels so lazy to just declare her a master. End quote.
Interesting. What do you think?
I mean, I agree, but you could look at it if you hadn't seen the cartoon. You could just watching this, you could take it as she's just going to be a great waterbender. Like there's something unique about her, so that's why she's picking it up so fast.
Yeah, but I think for me, the problem with that, though, is then it doesn't leave much room for growth with Katara. It didn't have to be Pakku that was teaching her, but I could have been fine with that too. But if one, it showed just a little bit more of a struggle for her. So then you can feel that growth at the end when she is a little bit more skilled at the end of this season. That would have been better. And then two,
they didn't really show her growth in the cartoon either as a waterbender.
I feel they did, but that was also with the help of Aang too, though.
Correct.
We could get into that whole thing.
I know they had a whole episode where she wasn't very great and they wanted to scrolls.
Yeah, I think if they just showed a little bit more of her journey as a waterbender, it would have been a lot better. And then we could have accepted that Paku didn't have to do any instruction with her. I do agree that she's not a master. But
Paku never called her a master, right?
No, it was just that kid.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, I can't say like this is the show saying, oh, she is a master. That one kid just happened to call her master. She doesn't even think she's a master. But they just need to do better in the next season with Katara's arc and allow room for her to grow. So, okay, so I'll go ahead and read the next one. So this is from Dale W. And they said, so this is them saying how the original is versus Netflix. They said original, it's like, no, it's not over, which is what Aang says, then fuses with the ocean spirit. And then Netflix says that Aang's like, no, it's not over. Insert overly long monologue, adding useless melodrama, and then fuses with the ocean spirit. I think this is exactly what I was trying to convey earlier. I think Dale just conveyed it for me. And the cartoon, Aang does the Avatar State voice, says, no, it's not over. And then it just immediately goes into him fusing with the ocean spirit. And it's a little bit mysterious and you're looking to see what is going on. But then in this version, there's I think it was just like the monologue and the exposition that was shoved in there that made it less intense for me. I think this is what I was trying to say earlier. Does it make a little bit more sense now? No?
Well, I like the monologue, so I can see both ways, but I like the monologue. It's like, hey, I'm not something about not being a part of this time. I couldn't save my people, but I can save these people.
Is that where we got the flashbacks of the avatars too? When flashbacks to what Kyoshi said, what Kurek said, what Roku said?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was just a lot shoved into them.
Well, I liked it. Sorry. Well, you're so excited about it because he's agreeing with you.
Well, I'm just saying Dale put it in better context than I did. Okay, we'll move on.
Right,
Thank you, Dale. Thank you very much. Okay,
moving to our next comment is from Taylor C. They say, first time I watched it, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10 using the Cabbage Rating. The finale definitely raised my opinion of it. When I rewatched it, I felt it deserved a 9 out of 10. They kept true to the story. They added characters from later seasons, I think because they weren't sure if they would be renewed for them and wanted us to enjoy those characters if they only had one shot at it. CGI was great and casting was perfect in my mind.
Taylor does bring up a good point that whenever shows are made, you don't necessarily know how many seasons you're going to get or if you're going to get a new season. So I guess they had to keep in mind that they possibly weren't going to get a second season. I wonder if that is part of the reason why they brought certain things from season 2 into this one. So
yeah,
that's a good point.
It's a great different viewpoint of watching it, not knowing if you have a next season.
Yeah, and I do encourage others to be like Taylor and rewatch episodes if you don't usually rewatch it, because you do catch things that you may not have, upon watching it the first time.
And they agreed that the CGI was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody could agree. I don't know. I don't think I've seen a negative comment about the effects in this. Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, so then the next one is from Robert R. And they said, I loved some things and did not... Wait, did I already read this? I did read this. Oh, that's a duplicate comment. That is my bad.
Take that out.
Oh, did I accidentally write over?
So I got the last
then you get
comment.
The last one.
Our last one for this podcast, our last one for this episode is from Sarah S. They say, I enjoyed it. I'm actually watching the whole season again for the second time and picking up things I missed the first time around. I love the animated version, but I enjoy the live action as well. I'm really looking forward to seasons 2 and 3 and hope they smooth out some of the kinks. My dad watched it with my daughter and I. He never watched the animated. He liked it and has since watched some of the animated version with me. Awesome!
I love that.
That's cool.
I do agree that there are some kinks to smooth out, and hopefully they do that.
I think it's awesome that Sarah has pulled her dad into this awesome cartoon series.
I wonder how many people watched the live action adaptation without having seen Avatar before and then went back and watched the cartoon and what their thoughts are. So if this is you, if you're in this boat where you've never seen the cartoon before and then went back and watched it because of the Netflix series, we'd love to hear what you think.
Oh gosh,
yeah,
that would be crazy.
It's much different watching it when you know what's going to happen, and also watching it as an adult versus a lot of us who watched it when we were much younger. So I would be interested to see what those folks think.
Yeah, their opinions would be
interesting. Those are all the comments that we're going to read for this episode. Like I said, some of it I think we're going to save for a different one. Apologize for anyone whose comments we didn't get to. For those who, want to engage and join in on our conversation, we post things on Facebook and Instagram. And so if you have any thoughts, just comment on anything that we post or comment on any question of the weeks that we put out there. I'm sure we'll have some more even after this episode. So just keep an eye out for our socials and stay in the loop that way. Before we close out this very long episode, do you have any closing thoughts, Wes?
I am feeling optimistic. And I think they've done just enough. Well, obviously they've done just enough to get a new season. So
yeah.
Not only that, they got 2 more seasons. I think they should have shortened that leash and gave them 1 more season. But there is a lot they need to tweak. Mm-hmm. Like some of the comment, kinks. They got a lot of kinks that they need to work out.
Yeah.
But this has potential. I'm not giving up.
It does. I truly did enjoy this episode, even though I had some gripes. But this was just an episode that I really cared about. Therefore, I had to bring some of those things up. But even though some of it may have sounded negative from me, I still really enjoyed it. So don't get me wrong there. I'm looking forward to the next season. It's going to be a while. I
also want to point out how super hard it was to watch 1 episode a week. I'm sorry, fellas, guys, gals. It was super hard, and it shouldn't have been because I'm older. I came from a time where we had to wait to watch stuff. But now I am conditioned to binge, and it was super hard, and I felt wore out. Since now that we're here, I'm kind of wore out. I don't know why. Well, because it felt like homework sometimes. And I guess it's because my memory's not as good as it used to be. Same. Harking back on other episodes is hard to do. It is. But I've enjoyed our journey, and it's not can't over wait yet. For our next episode, our podcast episode. Yes. Which we're going to talk about what? So I think, we're going to do a season 1 wrap up. Okay. And just talk about everything as a whole. And like I said, I want to have an episode where we do more like comparisons between the cartoon and Netflix. So that'll be more of an episode for longtime fans, and that'll have more spoilers to it. But yeah, I think we have at least 6 more episodes planned regarding season 1 of the live action. And then we might possibly get into recapping the cartoon, at least for season 1, while we wait for Netflix's season 2, as well as some other media. But yeah, I'm excited where this journey is going to take us. I know it was hard to do 1 episode a week, and there were some weeks where it's like, man, I wish we hadn't decided to do it this way. But I really like extending the conversation and what's the word I'm looking for? Either. Basically, I don't want to stop talking about this because with our binge culture, if we binge something in 1 weekend, we talk about it for a shorter amount of time, and then we're on to the next thing. So as hard as it was, I'm glad that we were able to
slowly take in the season and really savor it. I think we need to rethink our schedule a little bit for the next season and trying to get feedback from people. But we're learning too. This is I don't know if we've mentioned this before, but this is our very first podcast.
Yeah.
And we've learned a lot through this season, and hopefully we can improve upon it and bring you guys even better content. So
Yeah, I'm excited to restart this season and just
The
binge
original?
it. No.
Oh.
I'm excited.
Okay.
I'm excited for the original, but because we watch that every night.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to sit down, lay down, I don't know, and just binge this series
Back to back.
like you're supposed to do.
Yeah, it is a little bit different with a series that puts out episodes once a week because then everybody is on the same page. But this one was hard because we had to avoid spoilers. We had to avoid other people's thoughts who did binge all 8 episodes in one weekend. So that was the tough part for me, to avoid all of that noise. So, but I am excited for the next season.
It's going to be nice to sit down from start to finish, and we can see how it all flows together instead of taking a week off, forgetting what happened.
Maybe we should do that.
We gotta rewatch this.
Should we do that for our season 1 recap? Is just watch it back to back.
Yeah, because we might have different opinions than what we've had
Yeah.
in our last.
How it feels, how it flows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good idea. But yeah, that's all that I have
Mark
for
it down,
Knuckles
people.
and
She said I
Pods.
had a good idea. I'm going to put that
Okay.
in my diary, Pauline. All right, guys, that's our show. Thank you so much for listening to us. We have much more planned for this podcast, so if you've enjoyed our conversation this season, do us a favor and leave us a rating on whatever app you're using, as well as a written review on Apple Podcasts. It really makes a difference for small podcasts like ours. And of course, make sure you're subscribed to us so you don't miss out on any of our future episodes.
Like we said, we have a lot more coming. But you can also stay up to date on all of that by following our socials. We are at Avatar Nation Pod. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, even if you just want to say hi. But we've really enjoyed, engaging with you guys and hearing what you have to say. And we hope that you've enjoyed listening to us as well. So, with that said, and now that we've finished the finale, I'm Pauline.
And I'm Wes.
And you've been listening to Avatar Nation. See you next time.
Love ya.